हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु।
हरे कृष्णा। हरे कृष्णा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिके। So welcome to the 16th day of our journey to Janmashtami. Let's continue with our discussion. So today's presentation is dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So today's topic that we are going to discuss is yet another very interesting and amazing pastime of the Lord with His devotee. But before we go there, I was just thinking of this verse. Yesterday I quoted one verse from Bhagavad Gita. I don't know how many of you know that. That's from 4th chapter. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasa yajnaya charatah karma samagram praviliyate. Actually, incidentally, we were there somewhere in those verses, and those verses we were discussing. So, Gata Sangasya Muktasya, yesterday we were talking how one becomes free from the influence of these modes of material nature. Gata Sangasya Muktasya Jnanavasthita Chetasa, and becomes fixed in transcendental knowledge. Yajnaya Charatah Karma Samagram Praviliyate. So, in continuation with that, there is another verse which comes, very nice verse and very interesting verse. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 26th verse, you can refer to that later on. Shrotradini indriyani anye samyam agnishu jufati sanyam agnishu jufati sabdadin vishayan anye indriya agnishu jufati. So in that, actually the translation Prabhupada says, some of them sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of the controlled mind, and others sacrifice the objects of the senses, such as sound, in the fire of sacrifice. If you remember earlier, and I have got the verse. So this verse is, it's on your screen, you can see this. Shrotradini indriyani anye samyamagnishu jufati sabdadin vishayan anya indriyagnishu jufati. Some, in the bracket it is saying, the unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. I chose this verse because it is using this term called sacrifice the hearing process. So the unadulterated brahmacharis. Now, sometimes when we hear the word brahmacharis, we think it is those celibate people who live in the temple or something like that. But Prabhupada clarifies, brahmachari has two words, brahma charati. So charati is to walk or who's traversing, and brahman is which is non-material, which is transcendence, who's traversing in transcendence. So that basically refers to all of us who want to become a devotee. So the unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process. So here the word used here is sacrifice. Sacrifice the hearing process. So for the last so many days, we've been trying to hear different pastimes of the Lord. Basically what that means is to sacrifice the hearing process. Now the word sacrifice, when it comes, usually it looks like, we are being deprived of something, or we are, there is something that we are denied or we have to sacrifice. But if we see in the purport how Prabhupada brilliantly explains the process of hearing this Harikatha, or the process of hearing this transcendental glorious activities and instructions of the Lord, not just purifies our hearing process, but purifies our complete existence. You see, sometimes we would have heard this, or we would have come across by our parents, where they say they want us not to speak something which is bad, not to see something which is bad, or not to hear something which is bad. Or even if you are parents, you might also want that similar instructions to be passed on to your children, where you don't want them to hear something bad, or you don't want them to see something bad, or you don't want them to talk anything bad. But here, this process of denial, I'll not hear anything, I'll not see anything, I'll not talk anything, is the process of the Mayavadis, impersonalists. So it is important for us to know what to hear. It is important for us to see what is to be seen. And it is also important for us to speak what is to be spoken. The process of devotion actually lets us know where to put our hearing, what to see, and what to speak. It not just, it's like Prabhupada gives this example many times. Imagine if you have a cataract in your eyes and you go to a doctor, and the doctor, instead of removing the cataract, says that, okay, you have a cataract, let me remove the eye. So if there is no eye, there will not be any cataract. That's not right. And denial is it is actually a lower process, because you're constantly denying yourself from sense objects. And sometimes when, the weak moment of reckoning, or in that opportune moment where nobody is around and the sense objects are plentifully available, very difficult to resist. But the process of devotion actually lets us practice something which is of higher taste. And once one experiences the higher taste, he can automatically give up this lower taste. So all these activities that we are doing, all this process of hearing that we are engaging in, and all these slokas that we are trying to chant, is just to awaken, develop that taste. And once one develops that, then he'll not go back to this old, pale and dirty things. So the beneficiary is not going to be any one of us who's trying to tell you to do some things, or we are just trying to organize. The beneficiaries are all of you who are going to practice, who are going to follow. All of us, whoever are taking it seriously, will be benefited by this. So with that this thing, I don't know how many of you are aware of this. This is called Hamster Wheel. Have you seen this Hamster Wheel earlier anytime? It's an interesting thing. If you see this rat is constantly trying to, it is putting all its energy to run. And it is already a moving wheel. So even if it is trying to move, trying to do a lot of things, it is actually thrown out of that place. So sometimes in our life also, We are sometimes so busy with our materialistic activities. We are trying to run, to achieve, to do, to acquire various material things, various material possessions. And there is no time for Lord. Or sometimes when you ask people, they say, well, some boring thing you're going to talk, Lord, who's going to hear? That's what is our understanding. But you see, this kind of busy activity, this kind of, being too engaged in these things actually leads to nowhere. So this is the context for today's session. We are going to talk about a devotee. The pastime is very, very simple, very sweet, very short. But the important thing is the context. And once we understand the context, it's so nice. So this is the sacrifice of hearing that we were talking about. I have got few verses from one of my favorite books of Srila Prabhupada. And I had quoted some verses from this earlier. That book is called Mukunda Mala Stotra. There are some verses which are there which actually talks about what is this process of devotion and what is the request of Kulashekar Alvar. So let's see that. So this is the verse from Mukunda Mala Stotra, 38th verse, where Kulashekar Alvar is saying, Ascharjam etadhi manushya loke sudham parityajya visham pivanti namani narayana gocharani tyaktva anyavachah kuhakah patanti. Ascharjam etadhi manushya loke. If you remember earlier, I think in some of our sessions we had discussed about this. What is the most wonderful thing in this world, which was asked to Yudhishthir Maharaj in one of the conversations between Yaksha and Yudhishthir, and he had answered that ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti hi yamalayam sesasthavaram icchanti kim ascharya mathoparam. And every moment, in every small units of measure of time that you can think of, there are people who are going to Yamalayam. And the people who are remaining, sesasthavaram, they are thinking this is not going to happen to me. I have a lot of time. I have a lot of things to do. Let me accomplish those. After that, if there is time remaining, then I'll think about bhakti, then I'll talk about Krishna, then I'll see Bhagavad Gita, then I'll hear about Srimad Bhagavatam. And as for Yudhishthir Maharaj, Kim Ascharya Mathoparam, that is the most wonderful thing. Here, Kulashekar Alvar is saying something else. Ascharjam etadhi manushya loke. This is the most wonderful thing in this material world, manushya loke, in this material, in this Martya Loka, that where there are so many human beings. We are all busy, we are talking, we are doing, we are acting, we are working, we are doing so many things. Ascharjam etadhi manushya loke sudham parityajya visham pivanti. Imagine there are two pots. In one it is written nectar, and in the other one it is written poison. And very boldly, very clearly, legible, readable. Anybody can see that, and you go there close to that, you can see that nectar is having nice smell. You can, seeing that, you can know that this is nectar, and there is poison. And it is not just one person, it is person after person in a queue who are standing, and they are avoiding nectar and taking poison. Sudham parityajya visham pibanti. They are drinking poison. Namani narayana gocharani tyaktva anya vachah kuhakah patanti. Very beautiful verse. The greatest wonder in human society is this. People are so incorrigible that they reject the life-giving nectar of Lord Narayana's names and instead drink poison by speaking everything else. They're drinking poison and they're struggling. And when they get frustrated, when they get completely, like it's like sometimes when you are going in the periphery of a circle and there is a force, centrifugal force, so it throws you out in a tangential way. So when somebody is thrown out, then he thinks, now what should I do? Where should I go? How do I now come out of this? So that time, somebody, even if somebody says that you take to this process of chanting, it's very nice. Actually, this is nectar. And once one experiences this nectar, then he will not go to some this mundane material things which is binding us. So, but yet he's saying the greatest wonder in human society is this. People are so incorrigible that they reject the life-giving nectar of Lord Narayana's names and instead drink poison by speaking everything else. People are busy for everything else. You ask them, why don't you chant names of the Lord? Why don't you read some Bhagavad Gita? It will not take a lot of time. Little bit, 24 hours time, you do other things what you want to. But you can experience nectar. Don't drink so much, even if you don't want to. But one can actually drink the nectar all the times. But at least little bit, why don't you taste? Then usual answer comes is, we are busy. So that's why this Kulashekara Alvar is very nicely saying, and there are some few verses which we can see together. Then he says, Tattvam Brubhanani Param Parastan Madhuk Sharanti Iva Madhu Bahani Pravartya Pranjalir Asmi Jivve Namani Narayana Gocharani. Very beautiful verse, very, very beautiful verse. The translation is, because we have less time, I'm just going to the translation directly. You can hear the translation. My dear tongue. So he's talking to his tongue, Kulashekara Alvar. It's not he who's talking to his tongue. It's basically on behalf of us, he's telling, my dear tongue, I stand before you with joined palms. I'm just begging you, oh my tongue, please, and beg to recite the names of Lord Narayana. I'm telling you, because the most difficult is the tongue. That's why we say, Daramadhya Jivvati Lobhamaya Sudurmati. Take Jita Kathina Samsare. Very difficult to control this tongue. Some of you who have taken to this process of chanting would have experienced sometimes when you're not in association of devotees, how difficult it is to chant, how difficult it becomes. So my dear tongue, he's telling, this is not some ordinary person, you and me, it is not my opinion. This is Kulashekara Alvar who's telling, my dear tongue, I stand before you with joined palms and I'm requesting, please, beg you to recite the names of Lord Narayana. These names, describing the Supreme Absolute Truth, bring a great pleasure as if exuding honey. Madhuk Sharanti Iva Madhu Bahani. So sometimes people say, so what are you going to experience? Jab dekho Hare Krishna, you talk about Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, you don't have any other life. You can experience nectar. Madhuk Sharanti Iva Madhu Bahani. These names describing the Supreme Absolute Truth bring great pleasure. If somebody is saying that, there is no pleasure, it is sacrifice, you'll be denied, you'll be deprived, it is not true. The pleasure, the sense enjoyment, the sense engagement that we have as devotees is far superior. And there is no lack of anything that, you are denied some things. And you experience a higher taste, and that is exactly what the goal of life is. The goal of life is to engage in devotional service to the Lord and experience this higher taste. That is not enough, he says. It's a very beautiful verse. Yat Krishna pranipata dhuli dhavalam tad varshma tad vaisiras te netre tamosa jihate suruchire yabhyam harir drishyate sa buddhir bimalendu sankha dhavala ya madhava dhyayini sa jivvamrita varshini pratipadam ya stauti narayanam. Very beautiful verse. So he's telling that head is the loftiest, which is white with dust from bowing down to Lord Krishna. Those eyes are the most beautiful, which darkness has abandoned after they have seen Lord Hari. That intelligence is spotless, like the white glow of the moon or a conch shell, which concentrates on Lord Madhava. That these lines, if you hear, Sa Buddhir Bimalendu Sankha Dhavala Ya Madhava Dhyayini, which is remembering or which is meditating on Madhava. Sa Buddhir Bimalendu Sankha Dhavala. And the tongue rains down nectar which constantly glorifies Lord Narayana. This is actually the right use of all our bodily parts. Sometimes, when we look for some accessories, like there was some problem with the car that we have, and the rear door was not opening, and you look for some auto parts. So the parts that we get to repair, the parts is meant to serve the whole. That's why these are called auto ancillaries. So if the whole parts are not, if the parts together are not serving the whole, it is defeating the purpose. Similarly, all our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, all the bodily parts, they are meant to engage in in the service of the Lord. Rishi Kena Rishi Kesa Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. That is the perfection of human life. And here he's telling that this is what is, the head should be doing, this is what the eyes should be doing, and this is what the intelligence should be doing. And after having said this, Kulashekara Alvar actually instructs his senses. Very beautiful. What is his instruction to his senses? Jivve kirtaya keshavam muraripum cheto bhaja sridharam pani dvanda samarchaya achyuta katha shrotra dvaya tvam shunu krishnam lokaya lochana dvaya hare gachangri yugmalayam jigragrana mukunda pada tulasim murdhannamo dhakshajam. So he's requesting all his tongues. Jivve kirtaya keshavam muraripum cheto bhajashridharam. O tongue, praise the glories of Lord Keshava. O mind, worship the enemy of Mura. O hands, serve the Lord of Sri. O ears, shrotra dvayatvam shunu. Pani dvanda samara achyuta katha. Samarchaya achyuta katha. Pani dvandva samarchaya achyuta katha. Shrotra dvayatvam shunu. The ears are meant to hear the topics of Lord Achyuta. O eyes, gaze upon Sri Krishna. O feet, go to the temple of Lord Hari. O nose, smell the tulasi buds on Lord Mukunda's feet. O head, bow down to Lord Adhokshaja. This is actually the perfection of all our ears, eyes, nose in this human form of life. Sometimes when we request some people to join, just for the sake of, joining or the fear of being questioned, afterwards they join. Really, they don't have taste, or they join for the sake of joining and something else goes on. But actually, little we realize that these things can purify us. And this is what is meant for, this human life can become perfect just by engaging in this wonderful activities of hearing and chanting and glorifying the names of the Lord. There is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Namanu Kirtana, what is the verse? Etadhi nirvidyamanana. There is a verse in Bhagavatam. Actually, this comes in the answer to Parikshit's question when Sukadev Goswami is answering to Parikshit Maharaj when he is asking, what is the duty of a person who is about to die? What should he do? In general, what should be his duties? Because all of us are busy. We are doing so many activities. Here the question is very, very, very pragmatic and very relevant, because imagine if we have a notice, few more days are remaining. What should I do at that point in time? So when that question is asked by Parikshit, Sukadev Goswami actually answers, Etadhi nirvidya mananam ichatam akuto bhayam yoginam nipa nrinitam harer namanu kirtanam. So etad nirvidya mananam, this is concluded. Etad nirvidya mananam ichatam. You may be anybody. So he is specifying here three kinds of people. Ichatam, who's actually desiring material enjoyment. Maybe you are one of those people who still, who are not satisfied, who are not convinced, who are not completely, have come to this conclusion that there is nothing in this and you still want to. Still, doesn't matter if you are, one of those. So, etadhi nirvidya mananam ichatam kuto bhayam. When somebody is actually enjoying and trying to work in this material world to be happy, one thing which he or she cannot avoid is fear. Akuto bhayam. And this bhaya is actually described in Bhagavatam. It comes bhaya dityabhi niveshataha. When we absorb ourselves in this material nature and identify ourselves with this body, we get fearful. If one says that, no, I'm not fearful, I have got money, I've got bodily strength, I'm young, I'm not fearful, the cousin of fear is anxieties. That you can't avoid. Anxieties are there. So, etadhi nirvidya mananam ichhatam akuto bhayam. Whether you are actually, whether you want to enjoy in this material world, enjoy your senses, akuto bhayam, yoginam nripanranitam. So, whether you are an impersonalist or whether you are a devotee, the only fearless process of being in this material world is Harer Namanu Kirtanam. Harer Namanu Kirtanam is so powerful. It is hearing, chanting the names of the Lord and His glories, which is what we are trying to do in this process. So today's pastime is bound. Those of you who can see this beautiful picture of Krishna, this pastime happened in Vrindavan, where Mother Yashoda actually bound Lord Krishna because of his mischiefs, right? So he was very mischievous of stealing butter, and this pastime we know. But we are not going to talk about this pastime today. This pastime again happened in history for the second time, and this is actually there is one rishi by name Vasistha. Very famous, all of you will be knowing that Vasistha Muni was the family priest for Lord Ramachandra, right? So this Vasistha Muni, he was not just there in Treta Yuga, but he was also there in Dwapara Yuga. And as we have been seeing today's verses that we spoke about, his only mission and goal in life was to be engaged in chanting the names of the Lord, glorifying the activities of the Lord, discussing about it, and hearing about it. So once what happened, he was actually traveling from his ashram to down south to the banks of river Kaveri, and he finished his bath, and there were other sages along with him. And after finishing his bath, Vasistha Muni started discussing about Harikatha, especially about this pastime of Lord being bound by Mother Yashoda. So then he started worshipping his Saligram Silas, and in his meditation, he offered a golden Simhasana. Like, we've heard about that pastime earlier of one Brahmana who was there in South India, very poverty stricken, but he was offering everything in his mind. So like that, Vasistha Muni, after performing his ablutions, taking bath in Kaveri, which is considered very pure, worshipped his Saligram Sila, and in his mind he placed the Lord in a throne which is bedecked with jewels. Then he invoked sacred waters from the holy rivers and bathed the Supreme Lord from these holy waters. And he had a wish-fulfilling cow by name Nandini. It's a Kamadhenu, which can give unlimited milk, unlimited ghee, and unlimited curds. So there is another time we can discuss about the fight which happened between Vishwamitra and Vasistha for this cow. But he had this cow, and from this cow he he took milk, honey, curd, whatever is required, and he performed Panchamrita Abhishekam to the Lord. And then he offered Tulsi garland to the Lord. And his wife is also very chaste and very devoted. Her name is Arundhati. She gave him freshly made butter. And out of that freshly made butter, she prepared a deity of Krishna and started worshipping the deity as well. So at that time, what happened? Krishna, who's glorified as the Lord of unlimited pastimes, he appeared disguised as a small boy. And the Bhagavatam mentions that he was interested in hearing those pastimes which Vasistha was describing to the other sages who had assembled. Naham tishtami vaikunthe yoginam hridayeshu ba. Tatra tishtami narada. this is Krishna. This is actually a verse which is spoken to Narad Muni by Lord himself, where he says, Naham Tishtami Vaikuntha, I don't reside in Vaikuntha, neither in the hearts of the yogis. Yoginam Hridayeshubha, Tatra Tishtami Narada, and where do you stay? I stay there, Yatra Gayanti Madbhakta, where my devotees are busy, engaged in talking about my glories. So the Lord came there, appeared there, and he ate that deity which is made up of butter. So then, angered by this act of the boy, Vasistha wanted to punish him. And fearing him, the boy started running, and Vasistha chased him. The boy then hid behind a tree, and some rishis who were watching this wanted to help Vasistha. And they found a rope to tie this boy here. But how much ever they tried to tie him up, the rope was always 2 inches short. Like we have seen in that beautiful pastime of Damodara, where Mother Yashoda perspired and she was trying to punish Krishna, and she finally caught hold of him. And when she was trying to bound him, the rope was always falling 2 inches short. So amused at this, sage Vasistha immediately remembered the Damodara Leela of the Supreme Lord. And as you know, Dama means rope and Udara means the belly. So since Krishna was bound by a rope to his belly by Mother Yashoda, is also known as Damodara. So we sing a beautiful song called Damodara Ashtaka. If you do not know, you can join us to know more about this Damodara Ashtaka in the time of Diwali. So this pastime which happened with respect to Vasistha Muni, actually is that temple where, so there was, Vasistha actually remembered the pastime of Mother Yashoda binding the Supreme Lord to a wooden mortar and recollected the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So he recollected some verses from Bhagavatam, and we know this verse from Damodara Ashtaka, which we sing, Namami Swaram Satchidananda Rupam, Lasat Kundalam Gokule Bhrajamanam, Yashoda Bifu Lukha Ladhavamanam, Parandrashtam Atyanta Todrutya Gopya. So he remembered this exalted pastime of the Lord, and realizing that the boy was none other than the Supreme Lord Krishna, says Vasistha paid obeisance to him, and he pleaded for forgiveness for his mistake and begged for Krishna Prema. Sage Vasistha knew that only love could bind Krishna. He then requested the Lord to reside in that place. Hence, this place came to be known as Thirukanna Guddi, and the Lord of this temple is glorified as Sri Damodara Perumal or Sri Lokanath Perumal. So this is in Tamil Nadu. It's a very beautiful temple. But interesting, the important thing here is the quality of this devotee who's always busy, who's always engaging his senses in the services of the Lord. Not just hearing, not just glorifying, but all other bodily parts in serving the Lord. And that is the perfection of the life of the human life. So let's see the beautiful temple of this Damodar, which was worshipped by Vasistha Muni. So that is a wonderful pastime of the Lord, appearing as Damodara, being worshipped by Vasistha Muni. Now let's go to the second section of our session, Stavamala, the slokas offered by pure devotees. So today's verse is the master of disguise. Anybody wants to guess who's offering this prayer?
Indra, Prabhu.
Indra is offering?
To Krishna.
And so Krishna is, yes, but why do you think is it Indra?
Arjuna, I think. Arjuna.
Krishna himself.
Yes, Arjuna. Where did you see Arjuna? Arjuna anywhere?
Prabhuji looks like Surya Deva.
Okay.
Krishna himself.
And these are all the guesses that you could do. Let's see who's actually offering the prayers. So this prayers actually, okay, let me, why so much of suspense? These prayers are actually offered by the sages. So there was a solar eclipse in Kurukshetra, for which the sages from different parts of the world have assembled, including Vasudev, Devaki, and the Brajavasis, and Krishna from Dwaraka had gone there. That is when the sages are offering this prayer. So let's see what is this prayer. What is the meaning of this prayer? Namaha Tasmai Bhagavate Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Akuntha Medhase Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swa Yogamaya Achanna Swayogamaya Swayogamaya Achanna Mahimne Paramatmane Mahimne Paramatmane Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane. Let's see the word meaning. Namaha, obeisances. Tasmai, to him. So the sages are paying obeisances. To whom? To Bhagavate, to the Supreme Lord. Which Supreme Lord? Krishnaya. That Supreme Lord who's Krishna. Namah Tasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya. So obeisances to him, the Supreme Lord Krishna. What is the other characteristic of Krishna? Akuntha Medhase, whose wisdom is unrestricted. Unrestricted means there is no limit to his intelligence or his wisdom. Means we say Krishna, who's seated in our heart as Paramatma, Upadrashta Anumantacha. So he's the witnesser, he's seeing as well as sanctioning all our desires, all our activities. So he's all cognizant, he knows everything. Namah Tasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Akuntha Medhase Swa Yoga Mayaya Achanna Mahimne Paramatmane. Swa, his own, Yoga Mayaya, by the internal illusory potency. Achanna, covered. Actually, the Lord, by his own potency, is covered. Is not revealed to everyone. There are two covering potencies of the Lord. One is called Yogamaya, and the other one is called Mahamaya. So when Krishna was physically, personally present in this material world, only a handful could know that he is the Supreme Lord. Others didn't think him to be the Supreme Lord. For example, Duryodhana and all his brothers, they were considering Krishna to be some magician or some trickster who can play some tricks. So the Lord who's situated in the heart of Duryodhana, because his mati, his mind is not properly absorbed or not cleansed, is denying the acceptance of the Lord, which happens for most of us. Even the Lord, even if he personally appears, to know who Lord is, one needs the help of the scriptures and the Acharya. So yoga mayaya. So it is very difficult to understand the Lord because his activities are very bewildering. That is why even Kunti Maharani in her prayer says, Bidambanam. This is very bewildering. How will I ever know this? Swa yoga mayaya. By the internal illusory potency, the Lord covers himself. Achanna. Mahimne Paramatmane. He is the super soul, but his glories are always covered. So let's see the translation. The translation is, let us offer obeisances unto that supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, the infinitely intelligent super soul, who has disguised his greatness through his mystic Yogamaya. So the sages are praying, let us offer obeisances unto that supreme personality of Godhead. So there are two things which are mentioned about the Lord here: infinitely intelligent super soul, and who has disguised his greatness through his mystic Yogamaya, who's not, it is covered. We cannot know what are his glories, what are his potencies. We are unaware of it. Swa achanna Yogamayaya. And what medhase? Akutta medhase. Infinitely intelligent. So sometimes in our life, when we the life puts us in some crossroads where we don't know where to go, what to do, or we have an exam and we go and pray to the Lord, or we want some promotion, we want some relief from some distress or misery, we go and pray. Why do we pray? We pray because we know that there is some supreme power. He has more power than us. He can help us. But here actually the adjective used is infinitely intelligent. We need not even tell him, because we are aware of the omnipotency of the Lord, but we are not knowing that the Lord is also omniscient. Akuntha medhase. He knows exactly what's going on in our life, and he can help us. But yet we ourselves, we do not know the glories of the Lord. We're so tiny. We don't know even our own position, what to know about the Supreme Lord. And he covers himself with this potency of Yogamaya. Even in Ishopanishad, there is a verse which comes, Hiranyamaina Patrena. So there is this effulgence, there is this curtain of the Lord. Imagine if the Lord is kept under a curtain, like, sometimes when we have, before festival, the Lord is behind the curtain. We can't see it unless that curtain is removed. So that is that Yogamaya covering which is there. Let's see the context in the move. This context describes the arrival of great sages at Kurukshetra to observe the auspicious occasion of a solar eclipse. So there was the solar eclipse for which, it is considered to go and take bath in holy river and go to the place of pilgrimage and perform some sacrifice. So that is how all these great sages assembled at Kurukshetra, including Krishna and Balaram and other relatives from Vrindavan. So they all came and they took bath. After having taken bath, the sages are, they are offering some prayers. The sages' glorification of Lord Krishna and Vasudev's enthusiastic performance of sacrifices. So Vasudev, Krishna's father, also did some sacrifices there. They're glorifying both. That is this context. Let's see the mood of this prayer. As I mentioned, the Lord is Akuntha Medhase, infinitely intelligent super soul. The Lord, being seated in our heart, knows not just our, He's not just seeing our activities which we are doing grossly, but He's also seeing all our desires. Who's having what kind of desires? He knows that. And based on those desires that one has, the Lord sanctions that. So the whole purpose of this human life in this material world is to come to a stage where we are free from this materialistic desires. Otherwise, if we continue to have materialistic desire of enjoying, of having something, some desire to fulfill, then if that doesn't get fulfilled for some reasons, because we have a fixed quota of happiness and distress, fixed quota of our karma, then we accept another body and continue this process of birth and death in the next life as well. So the Lord is infinitely intelligent super soul, and He disguises His greatness through His mystic Yogamaya. As I said, Duryodhan and Arjuna both were present when Krishna was there. But Duryodhan could never understand who Krishna is. It is very difficult, it is very bewildering. Whereas Arjuna could. So to understand Lord, it is not our gross senses which are to be used. It requires the mercy of Guru. It requires to follow the instructions of the scriptures. Shrutek Shita. He is seen by the scriptural injunctions, by hearing them. It is every person's most essential obligation to bow down to Krishna as an acknowledgement of one's dependence and servitude. As we have been seeing in the verses today also, how we are all meant to serve the whole. Mamaivanso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana sasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. So all the senses are meant to serve Rishikesha. All of us, being eternal spirit soul, our constitutional position is to render devotional service to the Lord. So that's why we should bow down to Krishna as an acknowledgement of one's dependence and servitude. Let's chant this verse. We will take one word at a time, then one line, and then 2 lines, and then 4 lines. Namaha Tasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Akuntha Medhase Swa Yogamaya Achanna Mahimne Paramatmane Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane. I will do 2 lines at a time. Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane. We'll do the full verse. Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane.
Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane.
Anybody wants to chant?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntha Medhase Swayogamaya Yachanna Mahimne Paramatmane.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna. Namastatmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Kuntamedase Swayoga Mayaya Channa Mahimne Paramatmane.
Perfect. Nice. So that brings us to the last section of today's session. That is actually reading the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which talks about what exactly practical devotional service is. So idea is you have to read it today, which we have already discussed. Some of you, I think most of you or many of you were there as part of Gita Yajna. Now in this journey to our Janmashtami, which is hardly 10 days or so remaining, the activity for tomorrow is to read the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And we will have something based on your reading tomorrow. But please read it. Actually, sometimes it feels like we're trying to do something, yet people are so busy in their own activities that they just come and join and hear, and then they forget about it. So just to have this kind of an opportunity to hear or to even talk, it is not an easy thing, and it happens by the arrangement of divine will, by the will of providence. Not sure how long we can continue like this, but I want all of you to take advantage of this and not think that, oh, what is this? Why this is coming? Why should I do this? How am I going to benefit? Even after telling so many things, still people find that, why should I do this? Imagine if we just leave it, okay, theek hai. Then it is we who will be the loser. So I don't have any slides to show today because it's an activity for tomorrow. You can read chapter 12 Bhagavad Gita and then we can discuss. Let me ask, anybody did the activity of yesterday, the baking? Anybody wants to share any photo or anything? Chitrapra Mataji, I saw.
Yes, I did it.
Anybody else?
Yes, Prabhu, I did it. I shared the picture, but it's very late, I guess.
Okay, doesn't matter. I can see that now.
Yes, you can see right now.
Wonderful. So you have made some strawberry cake, is it?
It's a chocolate cake. I just made strawberry on top of the cream.
Amazing.
With Tulsi ji.
You offered it to Laddu Gopal, is it?
Yes.
Very nice.
Understood.
Anybody else? Nobody else. Okay. Let me ask with respect to the videos. Anybody wants to share any difficulty, anything that you are experiencing, or are you able to do it, or what's going on in there?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have made the video.
You made the video. Okay.
I'll share it with you.
All right. What about others?
I'll be sharing tomorrow, Prabhu, with you.
No, if you are facing difficulty, Vibhu, you have the whole day. You can.
No, I was not there at the whole day here, so.
No. I think the chat message was from Vibhu.
Oh, okay.
Difficulty with that. You can always call. We can talk about it.
Krishna Prabhuji, I will call you and actually ask you that how to make it.
Actually, if you sincerely think it is not so difficult, but yeah, we can always discuss. The days will go by like this, and if you are not able to send by tomorrow, probably we will, whatever entries we have, with that we have to go on. We have to go ahead with that. We can't just wait for eternity. And if it is not happening by tomorrow, it will not happen even afterwards, because Saturday, Sundays, there is some time for everyone. So try to do it. It's a nice activity. and we'll all be benefited by this. I can't tell again and again about this. If you think it is important and really, it is going to help you in your devotional journey, please do this.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yeah, today or tomorrow for sure. I will send that.
Okay. All right. We have some time before we go to our Jhulan. Yeah. So, anybody has any feedback with respect to this 25 days journey that we are doing? How is it going? Anybody wants to share anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I want to share. So actually, I did not know about the pastimes of the when I was actually hearing the singing of Prabhupada about the six Goswamis, I was not feeling so much like love. But after actually hearing the glories of these six Goswamis, then it actually gives me more actually sweetness, and I am feeling more and more to listen about the glories.
Anybody has any specific this thing to share?
I do not know, Hare Krishna Prabhu, whether this is specific or not, but the videos and the photographs that you are showing, that is amazing. The videos of the temples and everything, but it's all new. I've never been to the south before, and the way I do not know from where you are getting the places and everything, all is new to us.
Okay. Okay.
Prabhuji, it is very sweet to listen all the pastimes, and we personally we have not visited that much temples and places, but we are seeing all the deities and temples. That is very great blessings of Krishna. And overall, actually, we completed Gita and again Nectar of Instruction. After that, this is like a desert for us. Like we completed a dinner and the menu completed, and this is like a desert. Means it's revising all the things again, and it's just reminding all the things whatever we perform. So daily there is like a bit progress. Means whatever we completed in Gita and Nectar of Instructions. So this is like eating a dessert, means completing the whole journey like that. So it's very sweet and very nice.
Yeah, actually, the whole process of this devotion is a very sweet process. That is why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Susukhum kartum abhyaya. Very joyfully this is performed. But to experience the joy, to experience that, one has to engage in devotional service. Simply it's not like some armchair philosophy where we talk and forget about it. Practically doing it, one can actually make rapid progress, rapid advancement. Anybody else wants to share?
Yes, Prabhuji. This is Ankit. Hare Krishna. So I just wanted to share my experience. Like I'm more connected to Krishna consciousness now. Like prior to that, I was not that much. I was doing chanting and all this, but after hearing all these pastimes, and prior to that, we joined this Bhagavad Gita sessions. And that is having significant improvement in my Krishna consciousness. That's what I feel personally. And to me, looks like cake is ready and just frosting. This part, whatever you are doing, that is like frosting. And that's like a tongue in the cheek. Okay. But I'm very serious about it. So that's what I'm feeling about it,
Great.
Thanks for everything, Prabhuji.
No, no. Actually, to put these things together, it is there is a lot of sacrifice, and in terms of doing it daily. You see, Bhagavad Gita, we did it for 21 days. Nectar of Instruction, I don't remember how many, maybe 25, 24, 25 days. So, and on top of that, when there are other services and all, it is actually by the will of the Lord or by the arrangement of Prabhupada and Nitai Gauranga, we are able to do it every day. Otherwise, as I said, no, it is not easy to put it together and be able to do this. But I want those of you who are joining, please take advantage of this time that we are spending together, so that it helps. Because as I said, continuing this on a daily basis is an austerity. So take advantage of it as long as we are able to do. And as somebody is rightly mentioning that let's welcome Krishna in a manner which we have never done before in our life, and have him in our heart locked up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I want to say a few words.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Prabhu.
Yep. Yeah, it's been, I think, really amazing, and I've been amazed with a lot of context you are giving with slokas in the introduction to all the devotees, and although the lot of common, all the 6 qualities, it's been really amazing with across all the devotees, and the sharing the thoughts to the gods, and love to them and all that. And on top of that, you've been also sharing all these recordings and Stavamala, and really, so it's encouraging. Even someone missed also, it's encouraging to again go back, and we really appreciate all the effort. So Hare Krishna for all the.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
you. It's like a lock up in the lockdown, Prabhu.
Lock up in the lockdown? What is that?
lock up the heart in the lockdown.
Okay. Lock up the heart in lockdown. Nice. Nice to know. And thank you. I want to offer my gratitude to all of you for being able to join every day and being part of this journey. Actually, you see, to find a speaker is easy. To find audience is not easy. So if there is no Shrota, then there is no Katha. Right? So both are required. In the journey, it is not a one-sided affair. So now let's say if there is no reciprocation, and you go and you can go to talk to the wall as well, but there is no reciprocation, and that's how the encouragement for the speaker also doesn't come. So the encouragement for the speaker comes when he sees that there is a reciprocation, there is some hearing, and there is a response from the audience that this is what it is and this is how we want to do this. Then this whole process, that is why Krishna explains this in Bhagavatam. Satam prasangan mama viryo samvedo bhavanti hrit karna rasayana satam prasangan mama virya samvedo. So when the right audience who are interested in knowing and hearing, and if you are talking directly from the scriptures, then that katha has a virya, has a potency which releases, which is beneficial for everybody. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti prit karna rasayana, which is very nectarian for the ears as well as for the heart. And not just nectarian for ear and heart, one makes rapid progress in apavarga vartamani, in conquering over this process of birth and death. It's a very powerful, very subtle, very powerful process. So, what's happening? Not it is. So we will just show you the glimpse of Julan, and with that we will stop and again meet tomorrow. So before we do that, can I request all of you to kindly come in front of your camera and raise your hands, and we'll chant once Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki
Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Yes.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
So just wait for a minute. We have our children. Hare Krishna. We will meet again tomorrow. Was it not audible?
No, Prabhu.
No, Prabhu, it is
No, Prabhu.
lot of disturbance actually.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.